Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Leung, and I'm excited to talk with you all about my work under the SDG Leadership Academy. So my project specifically was tailored around looking at how we could reinvest in street assets and make these investments more equitable. So I'm going to give a little overview, talk about some of the background behind this project. So like Allison said, each team had a city client that you're specifically tasked with working with. So my city client was the local agency Streets LA. And what Streets LA does is that they manage street assets and street services around LA. So for a little bit of context, street assets are defined as above ground sidewalk and transit related amenities. And so the proposal that Streets LA set forth for us was that they wanted us to analyze existing distributions of street assets across LA. And due to COVID, Los Angeles as a city has had to have substantial budget cuts towards its local agencies. And so this necessitates a call for more targeted investment. And then also in light of the like racial inequity in Los Angeles, especially brought in light of the Black Lives Matter protests last summer, Streets LA really wanted to make it a clear priority for us to have a social equity lens within the project we worked on. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the outcomes and what we accomplished with our project. So our team divided into two different workflows. We had a policy side, and so the two policy folks in our team worked to compile innovative street asset initiatives from different global cities. And we wanted to look at these cities, think about the different infrastructure and different programs they had in place, and look at which of their initiatives might be transferable to LA, given our political climate, given our environment, and given our current infrastructure. And now talking more about the aspect of the project that I worked on, I was in the data team workflow. And what we did was develop a street asset investment tool. So this tool was a collective of interactive data sets related to street asset distribution in Los Angeles. And so this image on the right side, one takeaway that we created for Streets LA as our client was to group assets into different thematic categories. And so as you can see, for example, under bikeability, we have bike racks and we have bikeways. And so consolidating these assets into thematic categories helped underlie which like street assets would be beneficial for street specific neighborhoods based on different issues. And then from all of this, we created a mapping platform prototype using GIS technology. And this was directed for Street LA's use after our project. And then into all of this, we incorporated socioeconomic and racial equity metrics into the analysis. And so this map over here is a comprehensive visualization of all of the takeaways that we were able to create from our project. And so the pink areas are high priority investment areas. And so they represent areas that have greater socioeconomic need. So for example, these areas might have higher, more low income households, or they might have more people living in these areas that are experiencing houselessness. And then concurrently, they also lack a lot of street asset infrastructure. And so because of this, we recommended to Streets LA that these specific areas be focused on for their investment in the future. And then conversely, the light blue areas represent the other side of the extreme. So they have low socioeconomic needs. So a lot of these areas are pretty affluent and pretty socioeconomically well off. And they have pretty ample street asset infrastructure built out. And so we used the results of this map and then other data-driven statistical analysis we conducted to determine 10 different high priority investment neighborhoods within Los Angeles that Streets LA could invest in. So now I'm going to talk in detail about some of the personal takeaways I had from the SDG Leadership Academy. So it was just truly an incredible experience for my personal and professional development last summer. And so the first aspect I'm going to talk about was just how tangible the deliverables we created felt in making an impact. And so for the SDG Academy, one of our tasks was to produce an academic paper and a blog post for the Academy. And the really exciting thing about the academic paper that my team worked on is that Streets LA really enjoyed the feedback and some of the findings that we were able to produce for them. So our advisors are actually currently working to get the paper published in some academic resources. And then talking more about Streets LA's enthusiasm for our work, they told us that they were planning to implement a lot of our findings in their future practices. And this is really exciting because it could directly affect how they allocate resources in the future and how they direct their budget in the future. And now touching on the second aspect of my personal takeaways, from the SDG Leadership Academy, I was able to get a way better understanding of how local government functions. I was able to understand specifically how Street LA as a Streets LA as a bureau operates, understand what kinds of projects they work on, understand what kind of workflows they have for these projects and what their process is. And then finally, just really understand how much impact LA's government has in shaping the city of Los Angeles. And then specifically talking about LA, LA was a really fantastic city to work with in promoting the SDGs because it's really a pioneer in aligning policy goals with SDGs on the local scale. There aren't many cities in the United States and in the world that do this kind of thing. And then finally, speaking about my last aspect, the last takeaway I got was really the power of cohort-based learning. Not all internships have this kind of program where you interact with so many students. We had different weekly meetings to check in. And so it was just really cool to have this kind of community around the internship built in last summer. And so I really recommend any student who's interested in this kind of program to explore it. There really were a diversity of opportunities related to researching the SDGs. I know other groups like Allison's group, for example, they explored LGBTQIA plus inclusion within the SDGs. There was another group that looked at biodiversity and another group that looked at veteran support systems. So just a lot of different opportunities for a lot of different topics. And then a lot of the guest speakers we had, again, they came from really diverse backgrounds. And so we had the director of Skid Row Strategy, for example, come speak with us, or the chief data officer of LA come speak with us. And then finally, my last sub point within this is just really how cool it was to be around a community that really had a passion for social justice and social equity. The SDG Leadership Academy, because the students were really interested in having a space for this, created a space to have conversations about structural racism. And then it really just was empowering to see how many other students were passionate in their activism for social issues. And so just to wrap this all up, I wanted to reiterate, really grateful for this opportunity under the SDG Leadership Academy. And just for anybody who's interested, I really encourage them to apply for opportunities like the Academy or any other opportunities associated with the Institute. Thank you.